let's talk about the budget that just came down, the 5.95%. I felt like I was walking through Costco, 5.95 instead of six. We didn't do six. We did 5.95%. I wrote a column in the Winnipeg Sun that was, calling out the budget and my disappointment in the budget. So I'm okay if you have to raise taxes, but you have to prove to me why. And there's a couple things in the budget that I wanted to talk to you about. Number one is that we continuously go back to we had years and years of no tax increases, no tax increases. But, during Scott Gillingham's time, and if you look, even from when he was a councillor to being mayor, it's actually over 30% increase in taxes. So for almost for almost a decade or more, well, actually over a decade now, we've had tax increases. So we can't continue to go back and blame it on that. But are you satisfied that enough was done in the city budget to cut expenses? Because the only thing they've cut is this pilot project for snow clearing to be 15 centimeters instead of 10 centimeters. And I remember as being a councillor, when I made calls to the public service about residential streets, they said, yeah, we usually don't go until it's about 15 centimeters.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer that. I mean, ironically, I was first elected in November of 2011, and the first budget that started raising taxes was right after that. So my entire arc at City Council, we've been raising taxes. This is the most though in 34 years. I don't know what efforts were made to cut back. I wasn't in the room. I wasn't for the first time in those 13 years. No one came to me to say, hey, what would you like to see? So that was a very different experience. So I don't want to lash out. I mean, I think there's always a division of opinion on these things. And,
okay, well, hey, hang on a second. I want to lash out. Because you would think that, we have you have a very large finance department, you have councillors that are on a budget working group. At some point, someone in the room has to say, shouldn't we be looking at doing a 3% reduction across the board? Nobody's ever asked that. And the whole time that I was at council, no one ever thought of that. And looking at the budget, that didn't happen. We saw an increase in the bus fares. But we lose $6 to $10 million a year in people not paying their bus fare anyways. You saw the addition of police officers, something that I've advocated for a long time, and I think is great. But listen, the reality is that the province under the Conservatives said, here, we're going to give you money for 50 more officers. They've hired 12. So really take 12 from 50 leaves 38. So is it really new money coming from the taxes? You'd be hard to convince me that that's it unless somebody could give me, evidence of that. And I didn't see any evidence of the cutting. And I'm not going to pick on you, but councillors' expense accounts almost doubled a couple of years ago, right? $800,000 more. And you got some councillors that have two offices. You have some that are spending over $12,000 on bus boards. Isn't that somewhere where you think if we're asking people to pay more, we should have cut?
Well, everyone's always, it was certainly not my idea to set aside money for a second office. You'll notice I'm returning 28 grand this year as I did last year, because I don't think I need a regional office. That's politics, I guess. Other people, that was a big thing for them in the budget to get that. I got some of what I wanted, so I'm not going to, pick and choose on that. Yeah, I think that was I don't know what discussions were had about it. Should we cut across the board or not? This is the political calculus, I guess, as we're going to raise. I would say I would like to have seen us reduce that dividend, the money we claw out of the water and waste utility, and use that. We've been using that to lower property taxes or keep them low. Finally, we get this breakthrough where we're gonna go up, but we're not at the same point reducing the dividend. So I'll certainly have some questions about that, and I'm not sure, frankly, which way I'm going to vote. I might support it. Still some questions to be asked, but yeah, it's not what I was expecting, frankly. But I do still, we're back on pace to finish our combined sewer program by 2093 now. We had some momentum. We've lost the momentum. So I think the big issues, though, are the property tax. And it's a valid point. How much, isn't there something you could reduce? And I guess that'll be the debate over the next month or so.
So will it change though? I mean, I was only there 4 years, and I became very negative on the fact that they were not going to change the budget anyways. They have some things that they might do because they've already planned it out to make it look good. But really, is it going to change? I mean, they got the 5.95 this year. Maybe they'll do more next year. It's not an election year next year, so who knows, right? But it's not the end of the city taking more money from residents, council.
No, no.
I mean, we know in January, right, we're going to have new water waste rates, and who knows how much those will be. And you're right, you're still siphoning, stealing money from water and waste. Look at it. If you took all the money that the city has taken from water and waste, siphoned from the profits, you could have paid for all the work at the North End treatment plant.
Yeah, that's mathematically true. I mean, stealing is a strong word. Siphoning is a more comfortable word, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I voted for those budgets, so I'm not guilt free on this. But yeah, I think it's time to have that debate to say, like, we can't keep going to the province saying, you know, Jesus, we don't have enough money to do this plant, and we've got to be done by 2030. I think the province is going to say, well, maybe you should stop burning $40 million a year at the collecting for water and sewer and putting it into the property tax. Maybe you should do that. I don't know, but and the other debate that's coming very shortly, I think, is the garbage and recycling fees, and that's. I mean, that was introduced at $50 under Sam Case. That was the meeting before I was elected, ironically, or two meetings before. And it's crept up, but I don't know what it is now, 65 or something a household. I might be a little low on that. But the trouble there is, I mean, at least property taxes there's a gradation. It's a percentage of the value of your home, basically. Mm-hmm. The garbage fee is like, you got $1 million house, you're paying us $90. You got a $200,000 house, you're paying us $90. Well, I mean, politically, it's easier, but yeah, there's an unfairness to that. So yes, but you're right. That's coming, as well as the water and sewer rate hike. So this is not the end of the debate.
So in the process, though, and in the budget, we heard, some of the talking points, I'll call them. And I want to talk to you about this because for what I probably don't say enough publicly is that when I was a city councillor, I had the utmost respect for you. I actually still do. It's not like I've lost it. And you and I, although a lot of people would say we come from different worlds, we were able to come to a lot of good decisions together and get some good motions through. And even when I was environment minister, we were able to work together and have the task force, which the province has gotten rid of. And I think even in the first two meetings we had on the task force, we learned a lot from the experts on the outside of what we really had to do and what the city was trying to do, and could there be a balance and all that. But I want to talk to you about something that really kind of it hit me, and that's the part where part of this the tax increase was that Winnipegers want to make sure that we're covered for emergencies, and we want to make sure that we have enough money in the rainy day fund. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'll apologize now to Mayor Gillingham, but what was that crap? You are required by law to have a certain amount of money in there. And when I was a city councilor, and yeah, I'm going to take credit for this. So you can say whatever you want on social media. I'm going to take credit for this. I said as soon as the 5-year budget program was a way to play shell games with the money and take from the reserve fund without having to make sure it was where it was at every year. And look where we are. And to come out and say that that's part of the tax increase, I find that very insulting.
I don't know about any of that. I mean, to some extent, the mayor, you could make the argument the mayor has inherited this situation that we burned off the reserve, and to which others would say, well, the mayor was the finance chair for the last 10 years. And that's, yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's, and you and I did get a lot of stuff done. I want to say that there was good respect. I think the mayor would be well served by trying to sit down with everybody in council again, that we're more than halfway through this term, and try to see, is there something. I mean, what I said at council yesterday, all of these grandiose climate change plan and building energy, and then we won't even vote to study some tiny little part, meaning like, what, we have these targets, we have no belief in them, or like, why don't we just leave that aside? We can just sit down and say, can we do some building retrofits or something in the next 2 years? Do something real. I think that would be time well spent. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to obviously I had a falling out with the mayor earlier this year. I don't really want to lash out. So, but yeah, the rainy day fund, you're right, has been, it wasn't at 100 million when the mayor got elected and it's now at zero, but it's been burned off systematic. It's helped to keep property taxes low, but now that's gone. So
Has it though?
I think so.
I
I mean,
mean,
I think you,
I would argue that, as when he was finance chair, he's never done a cut. I would argue that they've never looked for any efficiencies. I would argue that they never increased the snow budget. I used to fight about that all the time. It was my pet peeve. They had the same snow budget, it seemed like, since the beginning of time, and
yeah,
we
that
were
was
always over.
that's
There's
fair. Yeah,
lots
no,
of
yeah,
reasons that, and really, it's not a rainy day fund. It's a requirement under legislation. There's a difference. It's like paying your rent. You have to pay your rent. You can't borrow from your rent and do that for months and months and months and then come out and say, you know what, I got a raise and I'm going to start putting money into that rent. It doesn't happen like that. That's not the real world. So it really kind of, I guess it's all that political spin. And I think what I missed, what I really was disappointed with most, and I'm hoping councils like yourself and others will start questioning, is why didn't we look at making a 2% cut, across the board in expenses? I mean, why everyone questions why the city pays $3 for something when you and I can go buy it for $1. So why not look into that? I
oh,
mean,
no, there's yeah. I mean, the city's construction. Somebody told me once the difference they charge the city to build a tennis court and the difference they charge like a homeowner to build a tennis court. And it was vastly different, which I had never realized till I got elected. I think and then what do you try and put in some controls over that? I do think, I think in Bowman's second term, we did an exercise of some departments took a 0, some took a 1, and police and some others got 2%. And that was meant to squeeze, and it did to some extent. But I don't think I would be hard pressed to come up with stuff we've cut. I could probably do it if I had a while, and we sold some things off over time. But yeah, I mean and there was supposed to be a reduction in the grants this year, but that all got postponed by a year. But there are a couple of that's classic political stuff. Everybody thinks we should cut it except for the one or two they managed to get in over time. So yeah, I mean, I think it's yeah, I mean, it'll be. I think we've got a month or so, 6 weeks till the vote on the budget. So I'll certainly have some questions, certainly around the combined sewer stuff, if nothing else.
Yeah, good. And I mean, to your point, I remember as a city councilor, I was trying to get a park done in the Westwood area, and I didn't have, there was no funding to get any of the equipment upgraded. But then I discovered, going through this process, for the exact same structure we wanted at this school park or whatever, if the Parents Association requested a grant, we could get them a grant through the fund that we had, the land dedication fund, and they got the exact same park built for hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of dollars less than what the city was going to charge the residents to put the park there.
yeah. I mean, that stuff does come. I mean, it's depressing that we probably could use some sort of. I think people get caught up in the swirl of activity at City Hall. I mean, I've put in all this time on the fourplexes because, frankly, I've had the time to put in a lot of time. I've done a ton of research on it now. But that I know. Yeah, you could try and just sit down every day, spend a couple of hours and just try and shave down the operating budget because the capital becomes the focus for everybody because that's where their projects are. But it's the operating that's over $1 billion that you would think you could find some economies.
Well, I always kind of pushed for a planning commission to get experts involved in that. And I'm going to say this whole concept of a Department of Government Efficiencies that they're looking at makes a lot of sense. Down in the U.S., they're talking about that. I think bringing in, intelligent people that are used to looking for efficiencies. There are people at the city that, are Six Sigma trained and others that aren't being utilized. Maybe that's something a counselor could bring up one time and say, maybe we need a Department of Efficiency, not a finance committee, because all they do is approve everything. I want an actual committee that sit there and actually might say, can you get it cheaper somewhere else? Go check.